Hello guys, so this is a lesson on biology, specifically about diversity in our environment. So where we live today, there's a lot of diversity, and the field that actually has to do directly with this diversity is biology. We're going to explain biology, then we'll give you an example of how animals are classified, because there is a huge, numerous amounts of animals, thousands and thousands of animals, and like millions of them. It is so hard to document all the animals. So in biology, they have created a system, and there's actually a complete category of science just for categorizing these animals, because it's such a huge, massive job that has to be done. So we're going to talk about how to classify them. We'll give you some examples with all the different types of categorizations, and then we're just going to explain what biology is. So you're going to begin by talking about what biology is.
So, biology is a study of life, and this lab is designed to give you an appreciation for the diversity of life around you, some of which we can study through direct observations, some require more complicated methods, such as wetsuits and snorkels or microscopes. Since life is so diverse, scientists have developed a system by which living things are categorized. This is a science of taxonomy. It is important to note that although these categories are well thought out, thought through, and well defined, the introduction of new species and of new techniques in biology challenges the current system of classification. Now, this invariably leads to changes, movement of groups from one category to another, or creation of new categories. The currently accepted categories are.
So right here is our currently categorized options. So basically what's been said is, obviously this is science. When new things come into theory, the whole classification system has to change. That's basically the idea, that there will be changes and movements. One example would be the idea of maybe talking about viruses. Viruses, we have not been sure if they have been non-living or living. It's been confirmed that they're non-living, as they require a host to survive. That is why there is no classification group for example, viruses. Also, protists, which are one big group, have also not been classified in other groups and not been combined to other groups, and they've got their own classification system as well, such as other things as well as archaea, bacteria. So there's many archaea which are not bacteria now. So there are many things that have been changing the system, but this is how we classify so far, and there is an order for it. We start with the broadest, which is the domain. Then we go down one, and it keeps getting more specific until we have the specific species. So it goes domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and then species last. So that's the order of how animals are classified, and we'll give you a more specific example later on in it.
So, species is the most specific classification of the classification system. Now, this group can reproduce among itself and produce fertile offspring. As you climb up the ladder, the characteristics of the species are grouped together in larger and larger categories. A genus is the genera category is comprised of species of similar characteristics. A family is in the families category is comprised of a similar genera. This categorizing continues up the tree of life. There are 3 domains. You want to go ahead?
Yep. So there are 3 domains. So that is the broadest thing when we look at the category. So a little bit. That's all the way at the top, the domain category that we're showing you with the mouse, and that is the broadest. There are 3 domains that classifies all the organisms that we know of today. There are 3 things. Now, most 99%, or I don't know specific numbers, but most of them include the archaea and bacteria. Then we've got the fewer percentage, which is the 1-2% kind of thing, which is the domain eukarya. So I'll just read. Domain archaea It includes the newly discovered cell types, and actually the domain archaea used to be part of the domain bacteria. Then we found out that archaea is more similar to the eukaryotes, the more advanced group. That's how it became its own group, yet it's still prokaryote, so now it's become its own domain because they're so unique compared to bacteria. So it includes newly discovered cell types, contains one kingdom, the archaea, which are prokaryotic cells, meaning if they're prokaryotic, they do not have organelles, which includes the nucleus, so they don't have those organs and stuff to function. They're much smaller, single-celled kind of organisms. And many think they are the most ancient group of living organisms because they're in such unique areas. They live in the extreme environments, which back in the day when Earth was just born, it was all extreme environments. No environment that we have today. There was not water and any of that. So that's where you have the archaea, hot springs, sea vents, and uh, hot springs, sea vents, and boiling muds and volcanoes. Then we have domain bacteria, has one kingdom. The bacteria are prokaryotes as well. Unicellular, meaning they're only one cells. You can't find them multicellular like humans, which are made up of organs and stuff. And then some form colonies. We often associate bacteria with human illnesses, but the vast majority of bacteria have no harmful effects on humans. And in fact, we're co-evolved with bacteria. Many of them are crucial to our survival, which is very true when we're thinking digestive system and all those things. For example, E. coli we think of as being very bad, which I use in the example for my project as well. But E. coli is actually in our intestines and helps us digest our food. So it's actually very important. Yet there are strains that are bad as well. So bacteria, along with fungi, are the main decomposers of dead organic matter and thus return nutrients to the environment, which is important for plants. Bacteria are used as sources of food for biological control of pests, as agents of fermentation, for example, your yogurt, so that's your fermentation, and for the making of foods and antibiotics. Reproduce mainly by binary fission, which is the asexual reproduction method, which is they create another like identical clone of itself pretty much, and they won't have new DNA, so that's why that goes into another topic. They don't have much diversity, so they can be easily killed off with one one vaccine or something like that, so that can easily kill them. Some are heterotrophic, which means that they eat other bacteria or other like organisms. That's what heterotrophic is, and rely on other organisms as organic molecule sources. That's pretty much what heterotrophic is. Others are autotrophic, which means that obviously they're able to make organic molecules they need. For example, another autotrophic thing that we can relate to are plants, which use the process of photosynthesis to create the energy they need. They do not require eating other plants. So then last group, domain eukarya, which is our most unique group of them all, includes all kingdoms and organisms composed of eukaryotic cells. Eukaryotic obviously mean they have organelles such as the nucleus, which is very popular and known organelle, which is the actual brain of a cell. And the kingdoms include protists, fungi, animals, and plants. We probably know what animals, plants, and fungi are. Protists are the more simple-celled, and that's why we don't know them as well, because that still needs a microscope. So basically, protists are your single-celled and simple multicellular eukaryotes. Those are your very simple ones. That's why we're not very associated with them. Then we have our fungi, which are our single and multi-celled eukaryotic non-photosynthetic organism with thick-walled cells. So it's very important to know that they're non-photosynthetic organisms with thick-walled cells, because fungi actually used to be categorized with plants, with the plantae group. So that's also another thing where we're changing the groups up as new data comes in. One of the main characteristics of fungi which change them from plants is that their cell wall, which animals do not have in their cells, is made out of chitin, which is actually what is the actual protein that is also used in near animals, which is in insects. That chitin is in insects, and plants actually use cellulose for their plant cell wall. So that's what the difference between fungi and plantae. That's why they have thick-walled cells, and that's how they've become a different categorization compared to the plantae. Plantae are your single and multicellular eukaryotic. Photosynthetic, your autotrophs, using the process of photosynthesis to make thick-walled cells. And then you have Animalia, which is your very, we can relate to that, are multicellular eukaryotic non-photosynthetic organisms with cells that have no walls. They are heterotrophs, they eat other organisms, and that's our Animalia. So, okay, so this is a lab. If you have time at home, you could also do something similar to this. Basically, what you need for the lab is you need your camera, you just take pictures, and this is so obviously we told you in the beginning, is to actually enjoy the environment around you and really learn what's going on. So the introduction is that one of the categories that I use for my thing, we'll just scroll down and show you the different things, and you'll be able to relate with what information we talked about. Is one of the categories I use, which is very essential for humans especially, is the ecosystem function or the ecosystem service. Now, basically described in the thing, it's the ecosystem functions are basically the contribution by each species to the transfer of energy, nutrients, or matter. And basically through these different processes, these ecosystem functions, which will show all the different organisms have, they help in sustaining and fulfilling human life. So human life requires these ecosystem services so that we can live and they can live, so that environment can keep going. So that's basically what your ecosystem service or ecosystem function is. Yeah, so there's diversity, production of ecosystem goods, seafood, for example, with fish, timber can come from your plants, biomass fuels come from your decomposed things, natural fibers come from some plants as well. Pharmaceuticals, you sometimes have your produce as well, that are creating your paramecium and all that stuff. And yeah, so all that comes from our environment, and that's how we have the things we have today based on the renewal of things. And also, many places that have good water will have many good plants nearby because water helps to filter out, plants help to filter the water, the oxygen, and to create a good landscape, which is also involved in it. So we're going to show you fungus, non-seed plants, seed plants, invertebrate, vertebrates, bacteria, and protists. So you can take your pictures, do sketches, identify the species. You have all the things you need there: native, invasive, common, scientific, listing the domains, the kingdoms, the actual specification, taxonomy of the plant, and then where you actually found the plants, the habitat of it. So try to take some clear pictures as shown. Always preserve the environments, that's important. And yeah, that's pretty much. Oh yeah, COVID-19, try to stay at home during this time especially. That's good to do. So this is the fungus. The fungus I chose was white rot of onion and garlic, Stromatenia sepivora. So this is all the information. We're listing everything, ecosystem function. I described that. So pause wherever you want to get more detailed information on that part. We'll just be strolling through everything, and you could pause wherever you want to pause in it. So you can just read it, see the information that you want, and this is good for your project. Always have resources with you. So that's the picture of the white rot that's coming from an onion plant. Non-seed plant. Pincushion moss. L. glaucum. That's the picture of pincushion moss. Seed plant, bell pepper plant, Capsicum annuum. Nice picture of green bell peppers. Invertebrates, red ant, Formicidae. A detailed picture of ants that you can find nearby anywhere near your roads. Your animal, which are vertebrae, eastern gray squirrel, Scirius coriolensis. Very nice detailed photo. Obviously, if you want me to take some photos, that I can do that for sponsorship. You know, that's a high quality photo I did myself. Pretty good, actually. So if anyone can comment down below if there's any actually good like photo like group where you can actually sell good photos. Yep, E. coli. Very popular, probably good known, very well known. Interesting actually to read about. Yeah, very popular bacteria to study. That's why I'm saying it's good and interesting to read about because it's very unique. So good yet so bad as well. Giant bladder kelp, that's a protist actually. You can see that multicellular protist. You'd always think it's a plant if you saw it in the oceans, but it's really not. We've probably seen protists all the time when we look in the oceans. The kelp, the seaweed kind of things. Those might have been protists and we've thought of them as plants all this time. Yep, and that's pretty much all. Is there anything to add?
Oh, that's good. I mean, the best part of this lab, I think, is the is the 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 ecosystem services or function, which is very important. I mean, just not giving information about each just not giving information about each and every
organism.
category. Yeah.
I actually agree with that a lot because we kill things off and we don't even realize the importance
Absolutely.
that they've had in life. Then when you look at their ecosystem function, you really realize how important these animals were to the environment, and killing them and making them extinct actually make a huge difference on the environment and how pollution and everything's controlled.
I think the best part of this whole lab is the ecosystem function and the characteristic or interesting
interesting facts to everything.
To everything. So anybody who wants to go ahead and can, then this is probably the most important thing here.
So that's all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Please like and subscribe for more videos, and obviously comment down below what else you want to know. And I think you'll enjoy this project if you did it yourself. Just do it in your free time. Nice thing. And always please look at your environment and see what's going on. If you start to notice more things in the ground and more things around you. So hopefully you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe for more videos.